Clark Fork River near Missoula is flooding. How the city and homeowners near the rising water are reacting, coming up.
And Montana is moving on to phase 2 of its reopening plan, but that's not good enough for some residents. Just ahead, hear from protesters in Helena who want the state to move even faster.
Right around 6:30 on this Thursday, Chet Lehman, Caitlin Corbett, Matt Elwell with you here. The air conditioning has been turned off, and we're ready to continue with our last half hour of broadcast.
Okay.
There we go.
The air conditioners kicked on because temperatures are actually fairly warm.
It is pretty
outside.
mild, yeah.
It's cooler than yesterday. Right now seeing 40s for the area, 34 in West Yellowstone this morning. We do have some damp roadways, especially southern parts of Gallatin, Madison County this morning. Most of that shower activity, the heavier rain off to our north of Lincoln, in fact, off and on showers today, mainly light through the day, but the wind speeds will not be light. In fact, some areas could see 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts by the time you head into the afternoon, so tie down your trash cans if it's trash day. It looks like daytime highs right into the upper 50s for today, off and on showers, maybe some snow for a few areas. In fact, I do expect to see some areas affected by snow. We'll break it all down for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you very much, Matt. And some other weather news. Flood season is here on the Clark Fork River just west of Missoula.
MTN meteorologist Russ Thomas has more on where things stand and what's to come.
As expected, the Clark Fork River west of downtown Missoula did overflow its banks, covering parts of Tower Street and Kerwall Drive thanks to a prolonged rain event overnight. As of 2 p.m. this afternoon, the Missoula airport had received over an inch of rain in the previous 24 hours, nearly 3/4 of which fell since midnight. The result, a rise of over 1.5 feet along the Clark Fork River near the Orchard Homes area, pushing well into minor flood stage. Unfortunately, this has become a common theme for some living in this area, walking out the door to find the river running through their yards. At Fort Missoula, homeowners along the flood-prone area, as well as volunteers, were busy filling bags of sand and loading them onto trucks in an effort to keep water from further intruding into their neighborhood and, in some cases, into basements and homes. Members of the Missoula Office of Emergency Management are keeping an eye on supplies and will bring in new sand and bags if needed. As of Wednesday afternoon, the Clark Fork River below Missoula, as well as the Bitterroot River in Missoula, are below flood stage, though the National Weather Service is anticipating that the Bitterroot will reach minor flood stage by Thursday morning. Now, the sunny break the Missoula Valley is getting this afternoon won't last long. There's another surge of moisture that will move into the area this evening and last throughout the overnight hours. That's going to help drive those river levels up even farther as we head into your Thursday. In Missoula, Russ Thomas, MTN News.
Now, Russ tells us projections for the Clark Fork River above Missoula are calling for crests just shy of the 11-foot moderate flood stage sometime between last evening and noon tomorrow.
And in the mining city last night, Butte's Council of Commissioners voted 10-2 in favor of having Chief Executive Dave Palmer sign the consent decree to clean up Butte's Superfund site. Palmer says he will sign the document. The next step, the document will go before a district judge for final approval. That decree is the result of 30 years of negotiations. It will involve a 5-year cleanup in Butte to remove the city's Superfund status. And a recount has confirmed voters approved the Townsend School District's elementary school bond proposal by an extremely narrow margin of just 3 votes. The Townsend School Board conducted the recount this week. It confirmed 1,041 people voted for the bond and 1,038 voted against it. That matched the results after the initial canvass last week. The $18.8 million bond will build a new elementary school, replacing the current building, which leaders say is outdated and in poor condition. It'll also pay for safety and security upgrades, among other improvements. Board Chair Jason Noyes says he's thankful to those who supported the bond, and he's hopeful the district can come up with a plan that will appeal to everyone.
I still think as we move forward and the project begins to take shape, I think even those that maybe were unsure or voted against it will come to appreciate the scope of the project and the benefit to the entire district as a whole.
And Noyes says the district will begin the design process for the new school this summer and fall. They could put the project out for bid early next year and begin construction as soon as May 2021.
Well, just 2 days after officially opening, officials in Yellowstone National Park reporting a woman was injured by a bison after she tried to approach the animal, was knocked to the ground. That incident happened yesterday in the Old Faithful Upper Geyser Basin. Park medical crews responded, treated the woman at the scene, but she refused to go to a medical facility. The incident is being investigated. Park officials say when an animal is near a trail, boardwalk, parking lot, or a developed area, you should give it space.
Always important to remember this time of year.
Good idea.
6:34 now. On Tuesday, Governor Steve Bullock announced that Montana would begin entering phase 2 of his reopening plan on June 1st. But dozens of people were on hand at the state capitol yesterday to protest Montana's continued restrictions linked to COVID-19. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on the rally.
On Wednesday afternoon, people gathered on the sidewalk in front of the Montana State Capitol to express their discontent with continued restrictions on businesses and on gatherings, and to call for the state to be fully reopened. Those who attended the rally say they see the state's rules as arbitrary, favoring some groups over others, and that they were unreasonable restrictions on people's freedom. Drew Coaster of Helena says her family's business was considered essential, so it could stay open. But she says the regulations on other businesses have been unjust, and the effects fell too hard on working people.
Honestly, if the non-essential, quote-unquote, businesses aren't working, I mean, that's like cutting half off of the economy right there. So we depend on them as well.
Coaster says she acknowledges the concerns about the coronavirus, but that a full shutdown wasn't justified.
On the principle of it, as a free society, we can't just force people to close down because things are scary. If we are not free when things are bad, then are we really free, or are we just play acting at being free?
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
6:35 now, shifting gears. The Big Sky Country State Fair Board has voted to recommend that the Gallatin County Commission cancel the fair this year. Fair Director Dennis Voller tells us that the board came to that decision after closely monitoring the situation and up until the vote had scheduled the fair as planned. Fair Director says after careful consideration, the board wants to put on a good show the right way and wants to follow phasing guidelines for the time being. The fair was set to take place July 15th through the 19th. Now, Gallatin County Commissioners will meet next Tuesday to vote on whether or not to officially cancel it.
Interesting. We'll have to follow that.
For
Well,
sure.
it's less than 2 weeks until rent or mortgage payments are due once again.
And if you're worried about being able to pay, Alicia Nieves shows us what you might be able to do to buy your family some time and where to find letters to send to your bank or landlord as you may ask for help.
Many homeowners and renters are still struggling. According to a survey done by Apartment List, 31% of them were unable to make their full housing payment this month.
So the percentage of people struggling to pay their housing costs is definitely going up.
May's 31% is up from 24% of homeowners and renters who were unable to pay their rents and mortgages in April.
Of the people who weren't able to pay their full housing costs, about 40% said that they had made some sort of arrangement. So presumably, despite not being able to pay their full housing costs, it was under an arrangement made with their landlord or their lender.
That means 60% of homeowners and renters made no arrangements and essentially may not be taking full advantage of provisions Congress passed in the CARES Act to help them.
Anybody with a federally backed mortgage has the right under the federal stimulus to delay their mortgage payments for 6 months. And so, but they need to request it specifically.
The company 650 has created 2 free websites to help those still struggling with housing costs. The first, hellolender.org, makes it easier for homeowners to access the help provided by Congress.
We saw banks ushering people into their own forbearance programs, which had terms that were not nearly as generous as the federal stimulus. So we developed this letter so that people could specifically request to delay their payments under the federal stimulus.
650's second site, hellolandlord.org, is for renters.
It writes a letter to the landlord informing them that they can't pay rent and that evictions are likely barred under the federal stimulus.
About 3,000 people have used these letters in the last 4 weeks, but it's unclear how many will use them for next month. Analysts with Apartment List are unsure if the number of Americans struggling to make their monthly housing payment will continue to rise in June.
June, we're in this kind of place now where certain parts of the economy are reopening. Some people are being able to start working again. I think that if people continue being laid off at the rate that they are being laid off right now, then we would expect the number to get worse. But June may also be the turning point.
I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
I think it's important to note here that you need to reach out first. You can't just stop paying. you have to reach out
Yes.
and let your landlord or your mortgage company know that that's where you are.
And it is good to know that a lot of lenders, mortgage companies, landlords are willing to work with the tenants to make something work so that nobody is left without somewhere to stay.
But don't just stop
Don't
paying
just
it. That's
stop.
the wrong thing to do.
Make sure you always reach out.
For sure.
Time now 6:39. We're taking a break. Up next, are men afraid of masks? Do they think it makes them look too girly? New research about men wearing or not wearing masks in public is coming up. First, here's what's ahead on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead first on CBS This Morning, Michigan's governor joins us to talk about the catastrophic flooding in her state amid the coronavirus pandemic. Also, why so many minority-owned businesses are having trouble getting federal stimulus loans and may have to shut down. Plus, in our More Perfect Union series, meet the husband and wife team using their nonprofit to help small businesses stay open in these tough times. And only on CBS This Morning, we'll reveal the National Teacher of the Year. We're really excited about that. We'll see you all at 7.